it was just like, oh, this is interesting. Let's come up with ways we're going to make this work. And so, yeah, I mean, I thought it was fun.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. And like that is what I wanted as far as like client experience, is that you have fun on a technology project, because it should be fun, like it's supposed
Because
to
I
make
was
your
just
life
like,
easier.
because I felt it was almost like I had some creative liberty, right? And yeah, we were just going to find solutions that, because we shifted, right? Like we started one path and we're like, oh, that's not exactly going to do it, right? And we pivot. And I mean, I'm good with pivots, right? Like living as an entrepreneur, you realize you got to pivot, like, right? Like sometimes you just pivot. But that was each step, though, you learn like why this or why not that, and then you pivot to the thing that works. Yeah, and I just felt like now I have a system that my calendaring is great. All my emails get saved to the matter, like it is associated with, and they're not just like all stuck in my inbox with like a million little folders and flags and oh my god. And I have my little roadmaps again, like how I run a case and like, do this step, do that step, and we can like, it's just peace again. Like we're like back to just peace, and I'm not paying an exorbitant amount of money to a large corporate entity that doesn't deliver me the product, right? I mean, and I see like in 2026, because we're recording this in October 2025, I see in October in 2026, I see how I'm going to be able to now start to do the automating of certain drafting. I see how that's going to be possible. It's not like, you know what I mean? It doesn't have to be a today thing, right? Like, let's just end the year with our new systems and like get adoption, right? Like get all my staff doing it the right way, how I want them to do it. And then we're going to roll out something else because I see it's possible now. And I felt like it was, but in my mind, like I felt like it was, but it was just never, craziness.
That's so empowering, like in general, right? Like, yeah.
I feel like we created something that is now reproducible, and other small firms, probably even large firms, I don't think that there's a reason why a large firm couldn't do the same. They should customize their own, right? Like what are you doing under these contracts with these entities that you don't need? And you can make it work for you, how you think and how you run a case, instead of like trying to fit into some other hole that doesn't work.
Welcome to Connecting the Dots. I'm your host, J.Caresse, and this space is a place where you talk about seemingly random topics, but in all actuality, they're connected together. And today we have a very, very, very special guest. Her name is Melissa O'Connor. She is the CEO and founder of O'Connor Elder Law, and we've met over a year ago in a mutual group that we're both part of. It's called Evolve and Thrive. And Evolve and Thrive is like a business owner advisory board where it's just you and a handful of people that get together and have your business topics of the month that we all brainstorm and basically grow together as business owners. And Melissa, Melissa was like a bundle of surprise joy for me because she's a super straight shooter. She says things so direct, and she just always makes me laugh. And the way how she just phrases things, and overall, like just a hoot. Melissa is also like someone that has a very interesting background with just different stories that you wouldn't even expect upon meeting her. Of which she started off her career as an environmental scientist. She's also the first person in her family to get her doctorate and master's degrees. She's had several careers, despite having a very humble beginning. And then on top of it, she's a very pretty tech forward person. Like she has a vision, and whatever that vision is, she's going to get it done. So, Melissa, thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming on this show. And thank you so much for being one of my early clients. Oh my God.
For having me. I'm excited to be here. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Melissa, you have a very, very interesting life journey. Today you are an elder law attorney, right? But
Mhm.
you weren't always an elder law attorney.
No, no. I started off doing science. I was an environmental scientist. I specialized in water quality. That was what I did, and I loved it. And I got to a point in my career that, I had my master's and all of that. And I just thought, oh, should I go get my PhD? And then I thought, oh, but maybe I should get my Juris Doctorate, right? Like I was just like an ever nerd wanting to learn, kind of like school kind of girl. And I thought about it and I was like, well, I think that a Juris Doctorate would be, more meaningful. I just thought because I felt like I already had reached the peak of my earning potential, right? Like I made the same amount of money as people with PhDs in my field. So I was like, I don't know if this PhD is going to like do me much, right? And then obviously I wanted to like make a difference, right? Like all those like really when you're a young girl and you think you can like move mountains and like change the world. And I just like, well, in law, you can like sue people and force change upon the world, right? And so I went to law school, and I graduated law school during the recession when nobody's hiring, and I went to clerk for a judge because that's what they say you're supposed to do, which was great. And then after that clerkship was done, the economy's still in the dumps, right? And people aren't really hiring. So I end up prosecuting. I end up being a prosecutor and I was practicing in Hawaii, right? So right now we live in Florida. I'm licensed in Florida and I'm licensed in Hawaii. And so, I was in a beautiful place and I served as a prosecutor and eventually I made my way back to South Florida and went into private practice, and people allowed me to build a environmental law practice in their firm, which I built up, earned the partnership track, all those other accolades that people are supposed to do. And I realized it wasn't my thing, right? Like I wasn't happy. I wasn't making the change in the world that I thought I was going to make when I went to law school. My family, I had a young family, they were miserable, right? Because I was always working so much. And I thought, this isn't working, right? Like either I'm going to go back to being a scientist or I got to just like reinvent myself. So I remembered that I took an elder law class when I was in law school. I remember that I thought it was interesting. I liked it. And I always had a good relationship with my grandparents. And I thought, oh, that's a good generation of people to serve. And so I just reinvented myself. I just announced to everybody in the world that from here on out, now I'm not going to do environmental law and real estate type stuff anymore. I'm an elder law attorney. I signed myself up for like an intensive boot camp type of course so I could just get like fully immersed in elder law and like learn what that entails, like what is long-term care planning, what are all these things. And I went all in and I launched my law firm, left my comfortable or safe, I should say, firm job, and reinvented myself and never really looked back. I thought that it would be scary, which maybe it was, but I just went all in, and um, people the people in my world, they trusted me, right, and hired me, and I've been doing it ever since, and I love it, and I'm really happy that I did it. And so now I have my own law firm. I'm kind of in control of my own destiny in that sense, and I help a lot of regular families, which that's another thing that I really enjoy. That it's not corporate America, it's not developers, it's not government entities that I'm representing. It's regular families that I make a difference in their life every day. So yeah,
Yeah.
I love it.
That's so interesting because, like, you would think being an environmental lawyer, especially with like all of the climate change and everything and all the nonsense people do, you would assume that like you would have been able to be like, I'm changing the world type of thing.
Yeah. Well, in the end, I ended up really working more for developers, and I represented polluters, right? Like that was who my client base was. And so because I had student loans and I wasn't a person that could go and take an extremely low paying job at an NGO, because I didn't have, I had children that I needed to financially support, and I had this education I needed to pay back. And yeah, so I wasn't able to take those types of jobs largely because they weren't offering salaries that were going to meet my true
Yeah.
needs, right? Like I'm not a trust fund baby, you know what I mean? And I just didn't have any like resources, right? Like there's nobody um, in my world that was going to financially take care of me but me.
Yeah.
And so I needed to earn a certain price point. And the other side is the one that paid. And while I did the work, I still felt like I was doing good work in the sense that I was educating my clients, right, about the
Mm-hmm.
law, making sure that they were in compliance with regulations. So even though, I was representing what you would call traditional, like, manufacturing companies
Mm-hmm.
and developers and people who you would think are like the anti
Yeah,
um,
like the
but
bad guy for
bad
the
guy, right? But at the
environment.
end of
Yeah.
the day, a lot of them, they just, I mean, they they're run by people, right? And most of those people don't want to be evil, right? And so it was just making sure that they were in compliance and things like that. But at the end of the day, it was all bottom line driven, right? It was all corporate America is just about bottom line driven.
Yeah.
So it was, while I met great people along the way, and I value those relationships, it just wasn't what I saw myself doing when I initially went to law school. So
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. Okay. And then as you transitioned into like entrepreneurship, essentially, was it something that you ever thought would be on your path ever previously?
I kind of did. I always wanted to like have my own firm, or just more so I wanted the independence that came with it, right? Like I wanted the freedom that came with working for yourself. I mean, there's a lot of responsibilities that come with it too, but I wanted the ability to make my own decisions and it not be um, dictated by a larger firm, right?
Yeah.
And or when I worked for the government, right? Like the government is just a monster of we don't even know who made that final decision, but we just do it this way because it's always done this way. And
Yeah.
you know, but I always like had that little dream of doing it, but I didn't know how I was going to do that. So
Mm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. And so your early days of starting your law firm, like what I guess like when you first got started with setting everything up and um I guess you're just like figuring it out. Like what did it look like from those early days? Like transitioning because there is a pretty big transition when you're working for a big corporate law firm to
yeah,
going on your own. So
yeah,
what was
to
that
like
like?
licking your own stamps and standing in line at the post office and fixing your own copy machine and answering your own phone. Yeah, it was something, particularly when you're used to having a whole team, right? Like I didn't realize how bougie I was until I got on my own, right? I was like, oh my gosh, like there's no IT guy to call, right? When I can't get my computer working. There's, literally, like I said, you're stuffing your own envelopes, right? And you're like, oh, that stuff should, it's not that that was beneath me. It was just like, wow, that's so time consuming, right? Like I had no idea all this stuff takes so much time, right? And how much these support staff was like super helpful, right? Like maybe you just didn't appreciate them as much until you don't have them. And so, because when I first started, it was me. I was answering my own phone, right? I was everything. It was just, I was a solo, right? And then slowly I got a call service, right? So then somebody else answered my phone and set appointments. And then I wasn't the one just, pretending that I was the secretary and then being the lawyer. And that was the only benefit of being a female lawyer, is that like you could pretend it's not you, right? So then I transitioned from a call service with a paralegal, right? So I had a part-time paralegal and myself in the call service. And then eventually I got, now I have a dedicated receptionist. I have 2 paralegals. I have a social media person that works part-time. I have an intake girl, and I have a runner, like a girl that like basically stands in line at the post office, picks up, runs things around town for me. And I have a whole little network of mobile notaries and people that help me serve as witnesses for signings and things like that. And so I have a much bigger team now than it was when I first started, when it was just me. Mm-hmm.
And like, as you were getting started and then starting to mature as a business owner, like, how did you identify the type of team that you needed, or the type of like infrastructure support that you needed?
Yeah. So the first one was just the phone, right? Like I was like, I really need somebody to answer these calls, because you're putting marketing efforts behind getting business, and the last thing you want them all doing is going to voicemail, right? So that was number one. And then I was able, I was getting so much work that I couldn't get it all out the door in the timely fashion that I wanted. So that's why I was like, oh, I need a paralegal to help me like push work out the door. Then I got pushed back from my client base saying, we really don't like your call service, right? Because it wasn't the same person answering your phone, right? It was just whoever in their little world got your call, and they would like struggle through your script, right? Because it wasn't the first time. It wasn't like they answered your phone all the time. So it was clear to the callers that this person didn't really know your business, right?
Interesting.
And so I was like, oh, I gotta get a dedicated receptionist, because I do all this work, and I'm building all this type of reputation, and then they're dropping the ball on the calls, right? Because some of the reception and people were great, and then other ones you would like listen to the recording and you're like, oh my gosh, that was really embarrassing. And it's okay, you know what I mean? Like, these folks were doing the best they could with getting a message shot up on their screen and not having ever seen anything about my law firm before. And so I ended up with, the dedicated receptionist. And just as I realized that I had need, I then brought on team members. And sometimes I've had to scale back, right? Like where I thought I was going to do something, and then I was like, oh, I can't support that right now, like I thought I had. And so I scaled back, and then as time progressed, I went back and tried it one more time. That was always really painful, because usually you really like the people that you hired, and it hurts to say, I can't keep you on, you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, when you're trying to run your own business, those are the hard calls that you sometimes have to make. So I try to be very thoughtful about my hiring, because I don't want to have to, like, that one time of having to claw back made you realize, oh gosh, I don't ever want to do this again, right? That was super uncomfortable. So you just try to be more thoughtful the next time.
Yeah, that is definitely, it's like with the entrepreneurship journey, you don't hear so much about those type of stories like that when you're first getting started. There's so many trial and error, like, let me try this, thinking, it should work. And then
and then you realize that wasn't sustainable. That wasn't what you really needed at that time. It felt like you needed that, or you committed to too many hours, right? What you really only needed was something more part-time, and maybe you committed to a larger full-time role when it wasn't something that you didn't need that many hours. So it was,
Yeah.
yeah, it's hard.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely relate to that one too.
Yeah. You're like, oh, wow. Yeah.
Like this is more time consuming than I thought. And now I can't do X, Y, Z. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when you're on your own or the solopreneur for some time, or maybe if you have even a little small team, that really makes or breaks the trajectory of your business for the future, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Well, at least, it redirects your path, and maybe you have um, a little setback that you didn't anticipate because of something like that. But
yeah. 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 And during those early days, like, did you have other entrepreneur friends or other people starting their own business, or like, what was that like from a social
well,
aspect?
I mean, I've always had colleagues that had their own firm, right? Because law firms, they're come in all different shapes and sizes. So I've always had, even when I was in bigger law, right, like big firms, I had colleagues that were solos or small, had their own small firms. Um, but when it was still very kind of lonely, because these folks don't really talk about, you know, any of their struggles or whatever. And nobody wants to look like they're not competent, I guess is
Right.
really the word, right? So you
Mm-hmm.
don't want to do anything that makes you look like you don't know what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I found a lot of support in like non-legal entrepreneurs,
Mm-hmm.
as well as I had this one group that was, we're mostly internet based, of lawyers that we would get together via Zoom weekly and then quarterly. But how I linked up with this group was really for marketing, honestly, because it was an attorney that was sharing his knowledge and his experience with video content, and how
Mm-hmm.
he was using video content to launch your firm, and how you can and because that's really how my big marketing push was just natural, by doing videos and putting it out there, not even monetizing, like not putting money behind it, just creating content like a classic content creator, right?
Mm-hmm.
And building my brand that way, which was strange to lots of attorneys, right? Because it is weird for an attorney to be behind the camera, um, talking. We're not like, we're kind of, you feel kind of old to be a TikToker and a YouTuber, right? But at the same time, that I'm there, and that's where I'm at. And I feel like, sometimes you feel like your content's boring or whatever, but it's amazing that it's not boring to people who need this information, right?
Yeah.
Like people who actually have a need and they're trying to get information as to decision making in their life. Like, you're not really boring to them. You're providing them like important information to help them make decisions. And so, yeah, that's how I built my firm, was through video content. And so that group of attorneys really helped me, because we talked about all kinds of other things, because we became friends, right? So we talked about
Yeah.
um, putting systems in place, and oh, who do you use for your reception? Oh, now I have to bring somebody in house because kind of outgrew that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I had that group, but otherwise, like local friends, like local attorney friends, it's not really something that we um, talked about much, right? Because again, it's like this, I know what I'm doing. You don't want to ever appear like you're not a good person to refer a case to, that you have that you know, your house is dirty, right? Like that you don't know what you're doing,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. All right. So yeah, because now you touched on the systems thinking. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So prior to that group, did you have any like standardized processes, or like did you have a tech stack to support you, or like how are you running things prior to like expanding out like who you're chatting with about how they're building their firms?
Right. So when I started, um, I bought like what just like a classic lawyers case management software, right? There's a bunch of different providers that sell these case management softwares. I purchased one that I thought was fairly affordable. It was easy because it was just one license just for me, because there's just me. right? So it had like this all-in-one, plug and play. You can do your calendar, you can put your billing entries, right? You can save all your documents, you can do all the things, right? And so I started just with that in my little Microsoft suite, right? And that worked out okay for a while, but it had all these bells and whistles that I didn't need, right? Like I didn't use half of the stuff. And then they were always raising the price because they were adding on more bells and whistles. And again, like most of these, I don't use these things, right? And the one thing I wanted was automation, right? I was like, I don't care. I wasn't so much into their AI. I'm like, no, I'm not so sure about this, but I wanted automation. I wanted like to make it work more, keep accuracy, right? So that way you don't make problems because it's just, and then just quicker, right? But it was clunky. It was clunky. And I did use a drafting software that was separate from my case management software, which was excellent. It was like, and I still use them now today. It was top of the line type of estate planning drafting software. I really loved it. And then what happened was that company got bought over by another company, right? Like, so they had this great product and another IT type firm bought them. And this IT firm that bought them, they also have this case management software. And so they went out and marketed like a blitz marketing campaign to everybody, all these estate planning attorneys, saying, hey, leave your current case management software program and come to ours because you already have the drafting software that you love, right? And now you can have it all in one, and we'll give you this great introductory price and all of that. And so I was like, oh, wow, this is great. Because by then I had several licenses, right? Like it wasn't just me anymore. It was like, now I had licenses for, all my staff. And so I was like, oh, this will be great. It'll save me so much money. And basically they bootstrapped off of a product that I thought was excellent. And so I moved all my data over, right? Which was not an easy feat. If anybody knows anything about migrating data from one system to another system, it was like, that was a feat to just get off of one. And that's why lots of attorneys stick with the same one, because just the thought, and it doesn't matter how they know that they got you, like that they got you, they can raise their rates no matter what. You're not going anywhere because you're like, you got my data. There's no way in hell I'm getting off of here. Right. Like the thought of leaving you is just overwhelming. I'll just pay the extra money. I'll just raise my rates or whatever. Right. Just sell one more, get one more client, whatever it is. But I transitioned over because I thought, oh, this would be so great. It was disastrous, absolutely disastrous. This new group was not able to deliver. It was every day I was dealing with some sort of problem, like something didn't work, things weren't connecting, right? It was just, and I went from a system that worked, right? Kind of pricey, kind of some things were overkill, not exactly how I imagined perfect in my mind, but functions, right? Functions. To now moved all my data over to a system that now it doesn't function, right? I'm like, oh my goodness, this is not functioning, right? Like nothing is working how it was not only sold to me, but like how I would need it to work, right? To manage my deadlines, make sure that, everything's just organized. And so it became clear that I made a grave mistake. And I thought, oh my gosh, and I had made a grave mistake. And all I could think about during this time was how you and I had previously, met on our board, and how I had shared with you my vision of being free from all of these subscription-based type of canned case management practice softwares, and how I just wanted to have my own little way of being, just crafted for myself, right? And I imagine doing it just in the Microsoft world because I'm a Microsoft firm. I think you could probably do this in a Google world if you were a Google firm, but I had Microsoft. And so I was like, I could just do this using Microsoft products, meaning I don't have to pay these monthly fees for all these other case management product. I could just build it right within the tools, but that takes time, right? And you have to like customize things, and it's not just plug and play. But here I am with nothing working, right? And so I'm like, if anything, now's the time to spend the effort to customize something, and so you'll never have to come back to any of these people again. And so that's how you and I got together with getting my tech stack much better. And now I'm running my firm how I imagined, just using my Microsoft world. I still have that drafting software for my estate planning. That's fine. Just the one piece of the product that works, right? Like keep that one piece. And I have a vision and a path for how I'm going to automate more of my cleanings in the future, right? That'll work for me. And it's just been a game changer when it comes to that. Yeah. But yeah, I went from plug and play type of things to just a custom built for me way of being and way of organization. And I wish I would have done it years ago. Yeah.
Yeah. So describe like the level of pain that you went through between the first software that you had, right? That was like, okay, this is, I'm making it work, to the secondary software that sold you the bells and whistles, but didn't work, to where you are now.
Yeah. So the first software I had, it was okay. It was clunky, and with like the calendaring wasn't like great. It didn't like, I knew this. Well, I just knew this just from, I guess, paying attention when I worked at other law firms. So you would have all your documents on this case management software. So I had created in my closing protocols, meaning when I would close a case, I would have my team back up all my files off of the case management software and onto my own SharePoint site, right? Because I knew that, hey, if I ever want to leave this software in the future, like the biggest thing is moving your data. So I kind of already like built in my own protocols to, as cases closed, to move, to back up my data. So when it was time for me to leave them, or when I thought I was only really working with my open cases, which is not a small feat in and of itself anyway. That's still like I run usually over, I don't know, like under 150 files, but more than 100 files, right? So it's not like, I mean, when I say files, I mean like cases, not like one digital file, right? So there's a lot of data for each case. But so they worked. It was, the pain points were, it was clunky. The pain point was every year the price went up, right?
Yeah.
And they would say, oh, it went up because we have all these things that I don't use, right? And I'm like, yeah, I don't want any of those things, so I'm getting an increased price for no added benefit, right?
Right.
And but otherwise, it didn't, rarely it would go down, on occasion, but nothing major. And it was just expensive. It just got expensive.
Yeah.
Every new hire, now you need a new license, and you're like, oh gosh, that's another whatever, $100+ a month, right? For this person to just be able to log in, right?
Yeah.
And particularly when like it was a small role, like they're only logging in to like update your calendar, right? Like that's a clerical role. And they're not like working hard, and you're like, oh wow, it's like so small, like what they're doing, but yet I need them, but so now I'm paying, the fee. And so when they sold me the concept that they could do all the same things and automate drafting and cheaper, right? I was like, wow. And so when I left and I went to the new system, I never got anything automated. Okay, let's just start there. Like the automations, which was like the biggest thing, like that did never materialize, right? That was not happening, let alone when I tried to just do my invoicing, right? Like it was really difficult the way that they had their funds like applied from trust. Like that was like not intuitive, very I'd have to check my notes every time at the end of the month when I wanted to run invoices. Like I literally had to go back through my notes to remind myself like what buttons to push because it made no sense, right? Like it wasn't something that you thought, oh, that's how you should do it. And then the calendars didn't link. Many times things didn't like sync and upload. So I would see something on my end and then my staff member wouldn't see it on her end, right? So I would be assigning her tasks to do things, say, hey, I want you to move this case by doing X, Y, and Z. On her end, she never saw it.
Oh my gosh.
It never came up. And so I kept wondering, why aren't you doing the work? Why aren't you doing the work, right? And it's because the message never came to her. And then if I wanted to pull reports, right? Like you should be able to like pull a report to say like, how many people have overdue tasks? The reporting wasn't there, right? Like I couldn't, this one particular staff member was like, she was invisible, right? Like, I'm like, why is she not coming up on my reports?
Wow.
And because something wasn't linked in the back end code. I don't know how else to describe it, right? And that was a persistent problem from the beginning to when I left them. And even when I left, they had never fixed it, right? Like it was, I put in these tickets saying that I'm solving a problem. And then they would say, oh, a person would get on and I'd have to share my screen with them, right? And they take 30 minutes to like do all these things. And I'm like, of course, like by the third time, I'm like, I already did those steps, right? Because the last time that you did those steps, I remembered. And, I'm trying to like speed up the process here. And then they would tell me, oh, this is a level 2 problem. I'm like, what does that mean? So that means then they escalate to somebody who's smarter than them, right? And then they escalated and that same person couldn't solve the problem. And they would just like close out the ticket, right? As if it was resolved. And I'm like, we weren't resolved. You know what I mean? Like, what do you mean we're resolved? I don't have it resolved. And so we'd start the loop again.
Oh my God.
And it was so painful and it cost me so much time and just stress. I ended up having to create my own little checklist outside of their own system, just using like an Excel spreadsheet because I was so afraid of like missing a deadline and not moving a case that I was like, this is nightmarish, right? Like I'm paying for a service not functioning. And so I ended up having to, I reviewed my contract with them, right? And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is not going to work. And I realized that there was a limited window because it was like a multi-year contract. That's the other thing about these softwares is they get you on these multi-year contracts.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw that I had a limited window to be able to bow out, right? And then after that, I was like on the hook for the 3 years. And so I was like, oh gosh, I have to exercise that early termination clause because otherwise I'm going to be having a product that doesn't work for I can't imagine, like this has been 3 months, right? I don't even know if maybe 4 months, but it's been hell, right? I can't imagine 3 years of this, right? And paying for it. And so, because even if I abandoned it, I would still be on the hook financially to pay them for it.
Right.
And so I was like, I have to just exercise my early termination. And so I did. And the saddest part, the most painful part about that was I actually had to pay them a fee to terminate early. Like,
that's so crazy.
It's so painful because I pay a fee for something to get out of something that didn't work, right?
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, I know that was like the best decision. You could just look at it and say, lesson learned, right? One of my most expensive mistakes in business. But it pushed me to getting to where I wanted to be all along, right?
Yeah.
I should have never left my first system to go to the second system. I should have left the first system to go to what I had envisioned for myself from the beginning because I knew already that that's what I wanted.
Yeah.
And I wasn't brave enough to do it at that point, right? I was like, oh, that seems like a lot of work. I don't know if I have the time or the capacity to do that right now. But then once you're in a really bad jam, like you make the time, right? Like you're going to figure this out. And so it was like the universe told me like, oh girl, you're going to get this. You're going to get what you need and it's going to work. And we're going to get you there, but you're going to have to do it the painful way. And so that's what I did. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's so interesting. Like, the impact, well, couple of thoughts. Part of the reason why I started my consulting firm is because of those software assholes. You know, all these assholes out here that promise you the moon,
Yeah.
and then they screw you over. You know, that makes me so angry. It makes me so angry.
I know. And then people are like, Melissa, you should sue. It's a breach of contract. And I'm thinking, yeah, that is a breach of contract, but let's just be real. This is like mega software firm. And then there's me, right? The amount of headache it's going to take for me to sue these people for what, you know what I mean? Like at a certain point, I'm like, you have to just move on with your life and have peace of mind, right? And then the other thing I thought to myself was there's a 5-year statute of limitations on suing under contract in Florida. So if year 3, I decide I have the stomach for this, maybe I could still come back and sue them, right? But in the meantime, I don't have the stomach for that. I don't have the desire to waste any more of my energy on these non-functioning people, product. And so yeah, I was just like, you just got to get out. Just get out and get going with what you know you're supposed to do all along. Yeah.
That's a life lesson right there. Just move, like, spare yourself pain and just do what you had the vision to do all along.
Correct. You knew what you were supposed to do and you ignored it. And you decided to go after some other shiny object, which was not what you were supposed to do. That's not, you knew that's not what you wanted, but you thought it was going to be like an interim. Oh no, that was, yeah. And the sad thing is I have many, many colleagues that made that same exact mistake. And now they are also suffering with the software. And yeah. So
it's like a
the only message I could share with them is review your contract and make sure you get out when, while you still have a hope. I don't know what to tell you. Like diary that deadline date,
Yeah. And I'm not a former customer of this software. So if anyone's curious, it rhymes with peep.
Yes, it is. Yeah. You should leap away from this software. That's what you should do. Yeah. No, it was painful. It was really painful. And yeah, I'm glad I left because it didn't work for me. Like, it didn't work for me.
Yeah.
And then if I can't even know if my client, if my staff are doing tasks that I assigned to them because they can't see it. Like,
it made you, it's like all those systems and processes that you put in place just goes down the toilet with the wrong software. Right.
Correct. Yeah.
Literally didn't work. Make or break.
Yeah. And now we are so happy and we're moving. We actually have tools now that we didn't have with these other softwares that it works like so much smoother. I'm like, this is how I imagined it, right? Like this is how I imagined it, right? And yeah. And it's on my own SharePoint that I don't have to pay anything extra, right? Like that's where I was backing up my files to begin with. Yes, I still have to pay Microsoft their fee. But I'm never I'm never getting away from Microsoft, right? Like I draft documents. I'm going to use Microsoft Word. You know what I mean? Like we're not getting away from them. So, but but I have the data where I want my data to be, right? And it's at a very affordable price point for, my little Microsoft licenses. And comparative to these, big things. And I was just like, this is what I should have done.
From
the beginning. I mean,
and it's so funny, like when you reached out to me to help you with building out, me and my company, right? It's like you were like the first client where like I personally wasn't doing the delivery of it, right? And so even with that, for like my own personal journey, I'm like, oh, this is I wanted to scale. Like I had people on my bench already. I'm like, oh my gosh, guess what? His name's Richard. I'm like, Richard, I have a project for you, you know?
Yes.
And
Mhm.
it's funny because I had met Richard like a year prior, and like I just had him in mind, like, I want to get Richard a project. I want to get Richard a project. Like, he's such a great guy. He supports like all my social media posts. Like, he's just been cheering me on since we met.
Right.
And so like Richard and I, like, we built up a relationship over time. And then I was like, Richard, I have something for you. I have something for you, you know? And then when we first had our first like meeting all together and introduced you to Richard, you guys just like clicked, you know,
Yeah.
like
No, what I liked about Richard is one, you gave me this lovely intro and you said that I was like some sort of tech forward person, but I don't really feel tech forward, right? Like I feel that I'm this weekend I turned 49, right? Which isn't old, but it isn't young either, if we're just being honest, right? Like it's not, um, I'm not good with apps and stuff like that. Like I'm not, that app world kind of came in when I wasn't young, right? And so my tech background and how I visioned was based off of like what I knew in the late 90s, early 2000s, right? I'm like, this should be possible, right? Like I had this, like, this should be possible. But I have no present day like understanding because I left the aspects where I had some sort of um, decision making with tech. And then I just became a lawyer where I just worked with whatever they gave me, right? And so I didn't really understand a lot of the operations of how things work. I just had a vision of what I thought should be able to be possible. And what I liked about Richard was when I spoke with my not savvy language, right? Like my very plain understanding of like just concepts, right? Um, and making 1990s references, he got it, right? Like he was like, oh yeah, you know what I mean? Like we could do this. And he, translated it into like real world language of people who actually work in the IT world. And I was like, oh, I'm not crazy, right? Like this is possible, right? And it just made me feel seen. It made me feel heard. It made me feel like yes, this is all doable, and I found my people group, right? And I can just use my limited vocabulary when it comes to this part of the world, and he can translate it into what that means for you guys, right? Like when I was explaining like my frustrations with like how Leap didn't communicate with certain things, like he's like, oh, this is what they have a problem, like they're in the
yeah.
back end world, right? And I'm like, I don't know what their problem is, but it's not working, right? And he's like, oh yeah, this is their problem, like these two things are not compatible, right? And I was just like, oh well, all I know is that it is very painful, right? And but it just made me feel like I wasn't crazy, right? Because, for one thing, the other thing, when you're going and having these tech support calls with a product that isn't working, and then they're taking over your computer and they're asking you these questions over and over, making you feel like this big, like you're an idiot, right? Like the problem is user error. That's was always the way that it came in. That the problem that I was experiencing was like dummy, right? Like you don't know how to use the product. And then it took them like 25 minutes for them to then go through all their steps to be like, oh, maybe you're right. Maybe you're not an idiot, right? And to have that over and over and over each time that you brought a problem makes you feel demoralized, makes you feel like maybe I am not,
Interesting.
smart. And so when we were launching this, I kind of came to it with like, I don't know if I'm really as like capable and my ideas are really as strong as what I think they could be, because I've had these like demoralizing like interactions with recently with IT people. And so I was really pleased when I was working with you and your team and Richard that like I didn't get that vibe, right? Like that wasn't, I never got this like, you're an idiot, right? Like you're just a lawyer that doesn't know how to use her computer, right? Or you're old, right? Because that was the other thing. The people that took over my computer were like young folks, right? And I was just like, gosh, I'm okay. Like, I'm fine, right? Like these people just, they're making assumptions, and I shouldn't let their assumptions like impact what I know to be true. So yeah, I felt like we clicked, and I was heard. And even though I didn't have the right words all the time, it didn't matter. Like we made translation occurred, right? Like we got there. So
Oh, Melissa, it's always so eye-opening whenever I hear like this type of feedback because like when you work in the field, like let's say I was to get on the phone with these people, like I would be like, hell no, you guys are not, because like I work in tech,
right,
so like you can't try to gaslight me into thinking that I'm the problem because I work in the field, right?
right,
So, but because I work in the field, I don't really quite realize how other people who don't work in the field are treated and how they feel like interacting with someone who's supposed to be customer support,
right.
like they're straight up gaslighting you, like
Right. Like for it's like first they're like, oh, it's you, right? Are you using the right version of the product? Like, well, okay, you know what I mean? And then did you do, and I was just like, oh my goodness, right? Because by like the third or fourth time, I already knew like the first three steps, right? So I already double checked to make sure that there was no updates, you know what I mean? Because I don't want them coming and finding that I didn't have an update, and because I don't want to look like it's me. And I'm thinking, I I'm paying a lot of money for this. Well, not as a lot as compared to the first one, right? But I'm still paying money for this,
so pretty penny.
and it doesn't work, right? Like I'm paying money for a product that doesn't work. That's where it was like really hard. Not that it just has a little glitch. No, like it didn't work for me, and so yeah, it was an experience, but and it happens, and
Wow.
I can't imagine because I'm pretty tough and I'm pretty like assertive. And if I got left feeling like that, I can't even imagine
Yeah.
what other practitioners would feel like, right?
Yeah.
When they could just probably be thinking like, oh my gosh, I don't know, I gotta buy a new computer, right? Like literally you think that you just need to buy a new computer when it has nothing to do with your computer. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Um, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh wow. Wow, wow, wow. No, you definitely just opened up my light to like open up my eyes to how people are feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, and it makes a difference. It makes a difference in, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh wow. Okay. Yeah, because that was like one of my questions. Like, what were your initial thoughts when you first started working with us, and like you feeling seen and heard and understood? Like,
Yeah. Like that was just like, okay, I, my vision is not off. I'm not the problem, right? And what I want to accomplish is doable, right? Like it's doable. And the other thing that I enjoyed working with your team was I think I'm like one of the first like law firm type clients too, right?
yeah.
So it was kind of exciting to share like what I do as a law firm, like what my tech needs are, so that way then um, you guys can help me build it, right? Because how I calendar as a lawyer might not be like how everybody calendars, right? Like I'm like, oh no, every single case needs its own unique calendar, and then it needs to link to, you know what I mean? And it's just, but that wasn't. It was just like a challenge. It wasn't like it was a stumbling block, right? It was just like, oh, this is interesting. Let's come up with ways we're going to make this work. And so, yeah, I mean, I thought it was fun.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. And like that is what I wanted as far as like client experience is that you have fun
Yeah,
on a technology project because it should be fun,
right.
Like it's
Because
supposed
I
to
was
make your
just
life
like,
easier.
because I felt it was almost like I had some creative liberty, right?
Yes. Yes.
And yeah, and we were just going to find solutions that, because we shifted, right? Like we started one path and we're like, oh, that's not exactly going to do it, right? And we pivot. And I mean, I'm good with pivots, right? Like living as an entrepreneur, you realize you got to pivot, like, right? Like sometimes
Yeah.
you just pivot. Um, but, um, but that was each step though, you learn like why this or why not that. And then you pivot to the thing that works. And, yeah. And I just felt like now I have a system that my calendaring is great. All my emails get saved to the matter like it is associated with, and then they're not just like all stuck in my inbox with like a million little folders and flags and oh my god. And we're just I have my little roadmaps again, like how I run a case and like, do this step, do that step, and we can like, it's just peace again. Like we're like back to just peace. And I'm not paying an exorbitant amount of money to a large corporate entity that doesn't deliver me the product. Right. I mean, and I see like in 2026, because we're recording this in October 2025. I see in October in 2026, I see how I'm going to be able to now start to do the automating of certain drafting. I see how that's going to be possible. It's not like, you know what I mean? It doesn't have to be a today thing, right? Like, let's just end the year with our new systems and like get adoption, right? Like get all my staff doing it the right way, how I want them to do it. And then we're going to roll out something else because I see it's possible now. And I felt like it was, but in my mind, like I felt like it was, but it was just never, craziness.
That's so empowering, like in general, right? Like, yeah.
And I feel like, we created something that is now reproducible, and other small firms, probably even large firms, I don't think that there's a reason why a large firm couldn't do the same. They should customize their own, right? Like what are you doing under these contracts with these entities that you don't need? And you can make it work for you. How how you think and how you run a case, instead of like trying to fit into some other box that doesn't work. So
you know what's fascinating, like as you say that, because like I the project delivery I'm doing right now is for like a AI agent platform, and so we're delivering a lot of custom software specifically to that organization. And now, like speaking with you, it's like a custom solution specific to your organization,
right.
And it's like that, like technology should be flexible. You should have a creative vision. You should want to be engaged with like a future roadmap. Like you should be so excited to map out like your tech stack into like how you want to run your organization to make your life easier, because that's what it's for.
Correct. Like I have a vision for implementing AI in my firm too. I really do. And I didn't like the way that those other canned things were implementing AI. I was like, I don't like it. I don't think that's what I want to go. But I have a vision as to how I want to do it. And that's another like project for the future, right? Because I think I shared with you, like basically I want to build my own library, right? One of the things with law is I can't have AI like making up cases that don't exist, right? Like there's been poor Morgan and Morgan got sanctioned because their AI created a case that didn't exist, and it got in a pleading and went into federal court and it was embarrassing. But that's what happens when you're early adopters. I don't think it was anything intentional or bad. It's just like early adopters, you're going to get hit with some missteps, unfortunate things, right? And obviously I'm not Morgan & Morgan, so I can't really pay that kind of sanction when the judge like hits you on and says, naughty you, right? You should have been better. So I want to make sure that when I do roll out mine, that we learn from them and we don't make those mistakes. And so one of the things I want to do is just create my own library and then tell AI, limit searches to just Melissa's library, right? Like don't go outside of these perimeters. Like this is it. If you can't find it in here, it doesn't exist, right? And that could help me then with more legal research, drafting, different answering questions, and like, and I see that as a possibility. But you got to build your own library, right?
Yeah,
because
that is what you have to do. Building it, taking the time to build your own library.
Take the time to build it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's very doable, right?
It is very doable. It is very doable. You could probably do that
Yeah.
in like a week, honestly,
Because
actually.
I've been just scanning in my own resources, right?
Mm-hmm.
With the making sure that they're like searchable PDFs, right? And scanning in my resources, because a lot of my resources are old books. Like they're books. Like I literally had my team take razor blades to my books and stick them through scanners.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
yeah, because they don't even sell these books in a digital form. Why? But they don't, right? Like I'd buy the
Fascinating.
ebook, but they don't sell an ebook. So I created my own ebook
Oh,
by taking a blade to them, scanning them in,
yeah.
so that way we have it for
Yeah.
a future library. And I have it in a place now that my team can go read these manuals, right? Like it's not just on a shelf, because we're all sitting in different chairs in different parts of the country at this point, right? Like we're not all
Mm-hmm.
in the same office space. That's not how, we don't work like that anymore. And so me having these books like scanned, it's super helpful, right? Like it's in my library, my firm
Right.
library, but instead of it being in the firm library in the conference room, it's, in the firm library in my team's channel.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so, yeah, and that's how I'm working it. But
Yeah.
yeah,
No,
that
that's
means any like
amazing.
resources I when I go to conferences, right? The handouts, I can just scan them in. Um,
Mm-hmm.
all of that case law that I come
Yeah.
across, like put that in and build it out that way.
But Melissa, this is what I say. This is what I mean when I say you're tech forward because, yeah, you're already doing the prep work. Like you scanning in the books is the longest part for your AI
Yeah,
library.
right.
That's the
Because
longest part of the
my
process.
I told you I hired that runner, right? The girl that like stands in line for me at the post office and does different things. On her downtime, I told her on your downtime, you start scanning these pages, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
and before you know it, she got them all scanned in. And because I mean, I have a fairly quick little scanner, just does front and back. But
Yeah.
the hardest part was like I'm taking a razor blade to a book that I paid over $1,000 for, right?
Yes.
But then I thought, it'll be easier to read this way. So
It's true.
yeah, like, and I wish they would have sold an ebook, but whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Here we are.
Yeah. Yeah.
The law. They like to be behind. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. No, but it's like it's I guess you could say that's where the opportunity is, right?
Right. And I mean, anybody can do that, right? Like you bought the book. If you want to take a razor blade to it and scan it, then put it in your own little portal for, you know what I mean? It's not like
Yeah.
you're reselling it or anything. You know what I mean? Like it's
Mm.
just
No, it's your
yours.
own repository.
Yeah. And, you know, I think that's the thing people can do, if they're willing to. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Awesome. Awesome. Melissa, it's like I'm for me, first of all, like I'm so, so, so grateful. I'm very, very grateful for you. Like it was a mutually beneficial journey in the sense where like as like a new entrepreneur, you have so many like, what if this or I don't know, it's like just because you're still trying to form things and build it and, figure out your brand identity, how you're going to serve people and all this stuff. You have your hopes. And so, like, with working with you, it solidified things for me where it's not just me alone now. And I have someone else doing project work for me and for you. And then on top of validating that you felt happy, a weight was lifted off your shoulder, you said it's fun,
yeah,
if you survey 1 million people asking how they feel about their technology projects, they can't say it's fun.
no. I mean, the most painful part was the part where I suffered when I realized I had a problem, right? And then the second painful part was writing that big check to make me to be able to get out of the contract to go away. That was super
Mm-hmm.
painful, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
paying for the service to get this product that I now know works and it works exactly how I want. Those were like joyful checks to write, right? Because if you're writing these are horrible checks of like I'm paying you to just go away, right? Like I you'll joyfully write a check to like pay somebody to help you get exactly what you were looking for. And so, yeah, for me, I highly recommend anybody that has in their brain how they really want their business to run and how they really want things to work, even if they think it's a pipe dream. Like maybe have a conversation with somebody, because it might not be as far off as you think it is, and it might not be as difficult as you think it is. And the alternative of you lingering longer and longer and longer without this something that really works great, like, oh, what, how horrible for you. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, 2025, it was a painful tech year, right? Like painful, right? Like left one software, did all the data get onto the other. Oh my gosh, it's like we just, jumped into the fire, right?
Yeah.
Get off of that. But now here we are with something which is what we had been wanting for years, and we're just too afraid to do it. And so
that is another life lesson right there.
Yeah. it was meant to be, right? Like, yeah. Sometimes, yeah, I wish I didn't have to do it the hard way. I wish I would have been able to just do it this easy way, right? But it's okay. We got here in the end, and we're happy, and that's all you can ask for. And I survived in the sense of like, I think I got all my data. I don't think I left anything behind. That was a big worry, right? And everything works how I want it to work. And I didn't go out of business. I didn't like commit malpractice because I missed any deadline. Like all those things were rolling through my head at night when I was sitting here thinking my systems aren't working, right? I'm like, oh my God, right? Like,
yeah, that's really material.
This could be bad, right? Like I had a lot of anxiety, and I needed things to work the way I need them to work, because that's how I ensure that I'm properly working my cases, have my clients back, meeting my obligations, my deadlines. Yeah, but we survived. And so yeah. I'm look at it now and I'm like, we're good to go. We're good to go.
Yeah. And I'm so happy you were able to help. Like, I'm like, me seeing you happy makes me happy, it makes everything like it makes this journey worth it,
Yeah.
Just helping you makes me happy.
And I just, I think that you've got something special here. And, people need to just kind of keep in their mind, like, don't be afraid. Just do it. Yeah. If nothing else, have a conversation, right? Like what's the harm of the conversation to just see if your idea is feasible, right? Yeah. Because when I had my first conversation with you and Richard, and I was just like this, and you guys came back to me like, that's completely feasible. I was like, wow, we're going to do this. You know what I mean? Like this is not some crazy dream of a girl who just wants the world. No, it's completely doable.
I'm so happy.
Yeah.
And I'm so happy that like you also we're excited to come on here too, come onto the podcast, talk about your experience, talk about everything. It just kind of brings my worlds together, because I had launched the podcast before I really like started going hard with my business. And now here we are, come full circle, where I have my first like scaled, I don't know what category, but my first client where I was able to place a consultant, and now you're on my show and you're talking about your experience and
talk about connecting the dots, right? Like we just like made it full circle.
Yeah. And so you gave a lot of gems, you gave a lot of advice, you gave so many things. And so I guess like for your roadmap for the future now, what is like your top 3 lessons learned or your top 3 takeaways?
So for me, I know I'm not going to be hesitating anymore, right? And I feel really good about where I am with my tech. And I know, like, I'm not going to be chasing any more other like shiny objects of people coming to me with like, you know, we'll sell you this for this, you know what I mean? Like, I feel really solid about where I'm at with my tech stack. And I think that my next goals would be doing my own AI library, right? And doing my own automation of my documents, my content, my forms, what I want as a, you know, delivering it just in my little world, right? Not needing some other person's delivery system. I don't need that. In fact, I don't think I want that, right? I'd rather it be my work exactly how I wish to be seen, formatted the way I like my documents formatted. So I'm not like, okay, it'll do, right? No, I want it exactly how I want it, right? And I think that that's just where I'm at. And then getting down my reporting so that way I'm really tight and I know like where I'm at with each and every case, what the next steps are, how efficient is my team, right? Like, do I have a weak link here or there, right? Like, you know, is there room for improvement? That kind of thing. And I really feel that because I think that I'm really moving towards where I want to be. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
so now, as we're wrapping up the show, this is where people can find you. So you do elder law. So give your pitch of everything you do about Melissa Elder Law and everything.
Yeah. So I do elder law throughout the state of Florida. What I do is I help people be able to afford long-term care, right? They'll come to me when my clients are usually 65 and older. They come to me when they have needs for either like home health nurses to come into their house. They may have assisted living needs where they're going to have to move out of their home and go into assisted living or memory care, or they suffered some sort of fall or injury that landed them in the hospital. And now they're in like a skilled rehab center, learning how to like, you know, walk again, do all those things. And those facilities are trying to kick them out too soon. And so they're like, I help them figure out how we're going to be able to afford to stay there and get better. I do Medicaid planning. I do probate. I do guardianship. I do estate planning, trusts, and things of that nature. I really love what I do. I like helping people. Everybody's story is different, right? Like everybody's family dynamic is different. Everybody has like slightly different money situation. And I like the strategy of figuring out like how we're going to make it work for you. It's fun for me. I like having people leave with feeling relaxed. They come to me like in a crisis and then they leave with like a plan of action, with a vision. That makes me feel really good. And yeah, that's kind of what I do. I enjoy it. I love my clients. I really do. And I don't work with clients I don't like. So that makes it easy too, right? like if you and I don't vibe, like that's okay. You can find somebody you vibe with. It doesn't have to be me. But yeah, and you can find me on social media. I'm on YouTube, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, I'm on TikTok, I'm on LinkedIn. It's O'Connor Elder Law. That's it. OCONNORELDERLAW. And so you can see my content there. Yeah. So thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for coming on and thank you for being my client. Hey everyone, thanks for listening and thanks for watching. If you were inspired by what you heard, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.